Thank you very much indeed. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege to probably take up a few more minutes of your time to share a little bit on border protection, monitoring, and surveillance. Of the recent few years, there's been a term of art introduced called border security. And this particular presentation tries to establish some parameters of understanding as to what is really taking place in the environment. So I'm going to navigate through this very quickly. Just to give you a little bit of background about the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, we were formed in 27th of August 1962. The headquarters is located at Stowers Bay, which is really just around half a kilometer down the road from here. These are our national rules. It is important to remember that in 1989, the police marine branch and most other government marine units were extinguished and their assets were transferred to the Coast Guard at that time. That therefore, while it left them with their jurisdiction in law, they did not have the means thereby of their own to carry out their roles. And thereby, our aid to civil law enforcement has grown as a result since that time. When we think of border security, the definition I would like to leave within your minds at the beginning is that border security encompasses all the measures that translate the policy position adopted by a country to regulate and monitor its borders. It therefore has a connection to what the government of the day establishes as their particular policy, and that's particularly important. We might be colored in our minds towards the events in Venezuela, and that is a useful construct for our understanding of what I'm presenting here. Additionally, border security also incorporates other aspects of state regulation and also private enterprise as well. Let me give you this conceptual framework, because border security applies not only to persons coming through the maritime boundaries, but also at the different ports of entry. And thereby, you will therefore have persons who can enter legally or illegally, as well as which for legitimate and illegitimate purposes. So therefore, these different reasons for entry motivate that to some extent. So in terms of the government rules as it relates to border security and surveillance, these are the different established ports of entry, both land-based and also maritime, within the country and the jurisdiction. Going a little bit further then into our maritime boundaries, we also then have maritime boundaries of different shades of jurisdiction. As we know, you have therefore the right of innocent passage through borders. There are different agencies that are partners in this entire picture, at least on the maritime field, and I want to focus a bit on that. Customs and Excise have their jurisdiction. Again, they don't have vessels specifically. However, if they wish, the Coast Guard will make those available. Immigration also now has their jurisdiction as shown. And at the different maritime ports of entry, you would find both customs and immigration officers operating in order to regulate border security. What the Coast Guard does now, because in the first instance, as I said, we have most of the maritime assets, is to look at the areas where illegal entry is taking place. Also to regulate the different activities that are taking place on vessels whereby somebody could be coming in for illegitimate purposes. The next slide is really the one I want you to strap your seatbelt on. Remember the slide with all the different legitimate ports of entry? The Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard did an exercise in a strategic plan to map out all the different places in Trinidad and Tobago where someone could reasonably land. There are 91 such places. All right? Pause for effect. Continue. All right? These are a nominal list of those 91 places. all right? So all in all, there is a very established awareness on our part as to the fact that there is a large and vast maritime area where anyone could potentially come in. I know the obvious question that's going through people's mind. Let me see if I could do a little bit of mind reading. What's going to happen with the Venezuelan situation? Yes? Is that part of the questions that people might come up with? Okay. That's why I started in the beginning by affirming the fact that border security is the manifestation of what the country's policy position is. As long as the country has its borders open to persons of different nationality, we therefore have to operate on those mandates. That's pretty simple. People from Venezuela do and are coming across. When they land in Cedras and in some instances Port of Spain, they are processed. Question is, are they going back? But let's not focus on Venezuela alone. In 2014, the then Minister of National Security made a statement that was carried in the Express that we had close to 110,000 illegal persons in Trinidad and Tobago. So yes, border security is a, pardon the pun, a very alive topic in Trinidad and Tobago. And what we do about it is therefore another question altogether. In conclusion, what you have to look at is the ability for the different state agencies to collaborate. As was mentioned earlier by Dr. Juman, you have close to 27 maritime responsible agencies. Law enforcement, sometimes right hand doesn't know what left hand is doing. But if you want to put your right hand and left hand together, give me a round of applause. Thank you very much.